Hello everyone, welcome back to Talking Reds, and this is another episode of Talking Stats, where we break down the stats of players and teams in the Premier League according to our friends at DataMB. So this episode we're going to be looking at midfielders. Who is the best midfielder in the league according to these stats? So midfielder stats are breaking into certain criteria. So it's going to be duels won, defensive actions, progressive carries, forward passes, key passes, and progressive passes as well. So these players are up there in the top five. We're going to be looking at the top five. These players at the top five will be ones that are going a bit more forward as well as backwards. So a bit more box-to-box players that are going to be hitting these targets and hitting high percentile in the Premier League. So we're going to look at players that are missing out. So a player that is shockingly missing out in the top 20 is Alexis McAllister from Liverpool, and is a bit different this season to what he was last season. Stats-wise, he was putting up the numbers last season. He played an early role in DM under Jurgen Klopp and was hitting interceptions, was hitting duels, was hitting passes. He was doing everything. But with Ryan Gravenberch coming in the season, Ryan Gravenberch just took a lot of that off him. Last couple of games, McAllister has not been hitting the form that we're used to hitting. And I do think he will get back to that form, hopefully. But right now, he's not hitting it. And the stats are showing. The stats are showing right now with Alexis McAllister. 4 more players that are missing out are Cole Palmer in 11th in terms of the top 5. Cole Palmer in 11th, so he's 74 percentile according to DataMB. Casemiro is in 9th on 75. Declan Rice and Adam Wharton are both on 73 percentile, which is 16th in the list. Adam Wharton was a player that Liverpool were linked to in the summer, but didn't progress with anything. Definitely a player that Liverpool could look at in the future in terms of the DM position, allow McAllister and Gravenberch to go a bit more forward, but we'll see that anyway. So who makes 5th? Does Liverpool play make it in there? Let's have a look. So 5th place is currently Tielemans. Aston Villa's Tielemans, where we play this evening, actually. He's got 79% percentile according to DataMB, broken down into all the midfield stats that you need to look at, basically. So Tielemans is having a fantastic season, and the stats are backing that up now. He's definitely the player, I think, alongside Rodgers and Watkins in tonight's game that Liverpool should be looking at to, I won't say mark out the game, but be wary of what he's capable of. I think Alexis McAllister and Gravenberch will have a big job at hand tonight, a big task at hand tonight to make sure Tielemans don't get that space that he needs. We did very well against Wirtz midweek, cut him out of the game, especially second half. He had no say in the game at all. So if Liverpool can do that again, that'd be fantastic under Tielemans. Tielemans was a player that was actually linked to Liverpool a couple of seasons ago, and a lot of people looked down on that transfer because he didn't have the energy of a Jurgen Klopp, which is understandable. It doesn't really run his backside into the ground like some players do, but technically wise, he's a fantastic player, and this is why I think we need to look at him in this Villa game as probably the key for me, the key threat. And like I said, I know Rodgers and Watkins are playing fantastic, especially Rodgers, but I think Tielemans is the key for Aston Villa in terms of the way they play and the way they go forward, and most threatening player to unlock a defence. Big job tonight for our midfielders to keep an eye on him. So 4th, and it doesn't surprise me that he's up there because he's pretty much a stat merchant at the moment, and he's definitely someone that I'd never take at Liverpool because of his attitude, and that is Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes, who's on 80 percentile according to DataMB. So again, it's including duels won, defensive actions, progressive carries, forward passes, key passes, and progressive passes. So he's going to be hitting those forward passes, going to be hitting those progressive carries. He can carry the ball every now and then, and his key passes, because that is Bruno Fernandes. He does make a lot of attempted through balls, and when you play in that position, you need to. Some may not come off, but that's the thing. When you play as a number 10, you need to start making these passes. I'd love Szoboszlai to do a little bit more of this. It's Szoboszlai, got a little bit of Bruno Fernandes in terms of his vision and his passing forward. I think we'll create a lot more chances for our forwards instead of relying on Gravenberch or McAllister to create something, or someone like Mohamed Salah, for example. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes, as much as I don't like the guy, I'd never have him at Liverpool because of his attitude. He's a class player, he's a cracking player, and the stats back it up. He is 4th on the list. Number 3 is Thomas Partey at Arsenal. Again, joint third really on 80 percentile. Everything off the pitch, I don't really like this guy, so I don't really want to talk about him too much. But he is doing the bits. So Declan Rice is out of the top 5, and Partey's doing a lot. He covered for right back against us and did a fantastic job against us in pretty much the whole game. He kept Luis Diaz quite quiet. So again, another player that stats will back up how good he is doing on the pitch, and he is a cracking player. But I don't really like the guy himself, so I don't really want to talk about him too much. So going into the top 2. And who should be the top 2? Who would you think is the top 2 of the stats? So the top 2, I'm not going to give you an order, but I'm just going to give you the top 2. So it's Gravenberch and Caicedo. And number 2 is actually Ryan Gravenberch. A lot of Liverpool fans, including myself, have said how good he has been this season. Probably one of the best midfielders in the world currently in terms of form. I had a debate the other week with Cecil and Basil about Arsenal and Liverpool mixed 11. They were surprised I chose Gravenberch over McAllister for the combined 11. And the way he's playing right now, you absolutely have to. And he's playing currently like a CDM position, sort of alternate with Alexis McAllister. It's more of a double pivot, where they're sharing that role a little bit, and they're sort of taking turns of who's defensive, who's attacking. But it's showing now, Ryan Gravenberch is showing now why he was so wanted when he was at Ajax. By the likes of Bayern Munich, by the likes of Liverpool back then, even Man United, he wanted him back then as well. He's an absolute class act, and he's finally hitting the potential that I expected him to hit. Back in, I don't know when he was at Ajax, was it 2019, 2000, no, later than that, wasn't it? So, sorry, 2021, 2022. I wrote an article about him and hoping that we'd go out and get him when he was at Ajax. He was only a young kid. He was only like 18, 19 at the time. But the potential that he had right there, I just thought, wow, what a player. The confidence that he had on the ball, the ability to turn on the half turn, the ability to take players on, the ability to drive forward. At that age, I just thought, wow, this guy is a guy I want at Liverpool. And then obviously went to Bayern Munich. Didn't really work out at Bayern Munich, but that happens. That happens to players. Players don't work out everywhere you go. Look at Mohamed Salah. Went to Chelsea. Kevin De Bruyne at Chelsea. They went on to Europe, did their thing, and then they got bought back into the Premier League. And they're the best 2 players in the Premier League currently. So players don't work for managers sometimes. Players don't work for certain teams sometimes. That's just the way it is. Just because they don't work at one team or under one manager doesn't mean that they won't work at all in any team or under any manager. And Ryan Gravenberch is absolute proof of that, because he didn't work at Bayern Munich, a huge club, under some of the best managers there. But come to Liverpool under Arne Slot now. We saw a little bits under Klopp, but under Arne Slot, he's become literally one of the main reasons why Liverpool are playing well this season and are top of the league. And he's finally getting the P's that he's probably deserved for quite a while. Finally called up back to the Dutch squad as well. I'm falling out with the national team, but I think they've got no choice but to play him. If it's just too good. He's just absolutely too good, and his stats are backing it up. He's currently 83 percentile according to DataMB in terms of the best midfielders in the top 7 leagues, and he is second in this list. He's doing everything. He's doing absolutely everything. He's winning duels, obviously, when it's breaking down to like duels, won defensive actions, and as well as the forward sort of stuff. He's doing absolutely everything. But progressive carries is probably high, really high. He's not going to get as many key passes because he's not going to be in forward positions as much, which I'd like him to be. Possibly, this is why I think a DM is an absolute cert to get. I think we need to get a DM, allow Gravenberch a bit more room to go, a bit more forward, because he is an attacking-minded midfielder. He's just doing an absolute job for Slot right now to cover the lack of transfer activity we've had and he's doing a fantastic job. But let's get not confused about this one. He's not a DM. What this guy is, he's a box-to-box player that can play all over the pitch. And I think if you're going to put him in DM and keep him in DM, I think you're just wasting his further talents that he can do go forward. A bit like Alexis McAllister last year. A lot of people saw McAllister play 2 good games at DM, outstanding ones against Bournemouth and Fulham, I think it was. And they were like, wow, best DM in the world. We don't need a DM. We don't need a DM. And then he dropped off. And then we saw when Endo came in a DM and saw Alexis McAllister go forward, he was even better. People have got sharp memories, and they're doing the same now with Gravenberch. We don't need a DM. Yes, we do. Get Gravenberch going forward. You'll see the best of him, just like we did with Alexis McAllister. But right now, he's doing a fantastic job. And I couldn't fault him for what he is covering and what he is doing. The work rate is coming in. It's coming back to cover for defenders. It's coming back to make interceptions. It's coming back to make blocks, which a DM does. But there's still gaps there in games, especially the Arsenal game, the Brighton game. You saw gaps, and we didn't really get punished for them because that's just the way it is. And we're top of the league because of it. So Gravenberch does hit second. That means Moises Caicedo, who Liverpool put a random £110 million bid in for the other season, and we've not seen that money since. Answers on the postcard, please. Moises Caicedo is number 1, and when we didn't get him, and we've seen Gravenberch do this, we see other players doing this, we're like, well, we didn't waste money on Caicedo. Caicedo is a sensational player, a sensational DM, a sensational box-to-box, can be box-to-box midfielder that can cover defence. At Brighton, he covered at right back, he covered at centre back at times. This guy would have been the icing on the cake for Liverpool. If we had bought him, Gravenberch and McAllister, we wouldn't have had the season we did last season. We wouldn't have dropped off at the end in terms of title race. No chance. Because Caicedo, Gravenberch and McAllister as a midfield is perfect. Absolutely perfect. In terms of balance, in terms of ability, in terms of technique, in terms of energy. It's everything you need. And Caicedo's had a lot of hate in the last year or so. I think it's just Liverpool fans that want to be proven right about things. Or the protection of FSG, we didn't get a DM. Look what Caicedo's doing. But if anyone actually watches the football and see what's going on, Caicedo was sensational last season. Especially when Chelsea was progressing towards the end of the season. Caicedo was a big part of that. And this season, wow, he has hit the ground running. Him and Lavia, I think, pretty much bossed Liverpool's midfield when we played them. Also, we won in the end because we've got better talented players to change the game. But I think Caicedo and Lavia are the best 2 players on the pitch, and both players that Liverpool wanted, or sort of wanted, but weren't willing to pay the money. And he's finally doing it this season. He's hit the ground running. According to the stats, he's the best midfielder in the league currently on 84% percentile. So 1 above Gravenberch. But you could argue either. If I'm honest, I could get a Chelsea fan on here and they could say, well, Caicedo is the best Premier League midfielder currently in form. And I could say Gravenberch is the best Premier League midfielder in form. You couldn't really argue either way, I don't think, because both of them are just unbelievable players. And if we could somehow get them into the same team at Liverpool, it would be perfect. I think that's what Gravenberch needs, someone like that next to him, and McAllister maybe in the 10. And we can finally see Mac 10, the number on his back, be the reason why we bought him. But yeah, the Caicedo hate from Liverpool fans is basically on, I just think, protection of FSG and protection of like, we don't need midfield, we don't need a DM, but they don't watch the game. They'd rather lie about something just to make their midfield look better or whatever. At the end of the day, we made a big mistake not properly going for Caicedo. If we really wanted Caicedo, I think we should have gone for him in January. The way Chelsea did, where they spoke to him in January and they did all the groundwork. That's why we didn't get him, because we will never put ourselves out there properly for a player. We went in last minute cockiness. I think it was just a PR stunt, if I'm honest, and that's me being honest. I think it was a PR stunt because we've not seen that 110 million since. Despite people saying, "Oh yeah, we'll spend it, whatever." It's gone. Anyway, so yeah, Caicedo would have been a fantastic signing, and we're seeing that this season at Chelsea. I think he's alongside Cole Palmer and Madueke and like Nicholas Jackson, for example, has been a big reason why Chelsea have hit form and are looking very, very good. Very good, in fact. They could even, if they top the defence out a little bit, they could even like push a title charge just a little bit. Not too much, but they could do. But the stats don't lie as well. The stats outline according to DataMB, where Caicedo and Gravenberch are the top two in the Premier League on stats. And in my mind as well, they are the top two easily in terms of Premier League. I'm very disappointed that McAllister isn't really high up on the stats and the way it was last season, but I just think it's Gravenberch has taken over in terms of that. So I think there's more to come from McAllister. One player that isn't, another midfielder that is disappointing me is Szoboszlai. And again, it's a player that I really wanted. Like 2-3 years ago. Even when he was at Salzburg, I thought, oh, there's a player there. He's scoring pretty much all the time as a attacking midfielder. It was sensational. And yeah, he did bits at Leipzig, scored amazing long range goals at Leipzig, same with Hungary, but he's not really hit the form that I expected. I think it's been one of the most disappointing signings, alongside like Naby Keita or some things like that, because we knew what talent this guy has. We know what capabilities this guy's and abilities he has. But we're just not seeing it. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. Defensively and off the ball has been a workhorse, and it has really covered what he's been doing on the ball. And I'm not surprised that Klopp keeps playing him like over Curtis Jones because of the work rate he puts in. But right now, in terms of on the ball and making a difference in the team, Curtis Jones has got to start. He's got to start because he's doing something on the ball. He did it against Brighton. He did it against Leverkusen. He's changing stuff around more so than Szoboszlai. I think Szoboszlai's just been very disappointing. Do I think he can get to that? Of course he can, because we've seen it. I've just said before, doesn't mean just because he's worked somewhere doesn't mean he's going to work somewhere else. You don't lose talent overnight. And this guy has got talent. He's got bags of ability. He just needs something. Is it confidence? I don't know, because there's no reason not to be confident at Liverpool right now. You're in a perfect team right now in terms of being confident. You're top of the league, top of the Champions League. So maybe he needs a little kick up the backside and start playing Curtis Jones week in, week out, for him to say, hang on a second, I need to sort myself out here. Maybe he needs that, but right now he's coming in and out of the team with Curtis Jones. And yeah, I don't know what to make of Szoboszlai at the moment. But yeah, what do you guys think of this video? What do you guys think of the list? Are you surprised at the list? Are you surprised with Gravenberch not being top? Are you surprised like Bruno Fernandes hit the top 5 and McAllister's not even in the top 20? Who is your best midfielder this season? Forget the stats for a second. Who is your best midfielder, on your opinion, this season? We're going to be doing more talking stats next week. I'm going to break down either a player or a team with Liverpool according to the stats brought to you by our friends at DataMB. What kind of stats do you want me to do? What kind of stats do you want me to look at? Is it player-wise? Last week we looked at Nunes and Welbeck. This week we're looking at best midfielders. It could be a player comparison next week with our opponents, which is Southampton. So do we compare keepers? Do we compare defenders? All up to you at home as well. If you want me to compare anything according to stats, I will do it on this episode, on the Talking Stats episodes. Thank you everyone for joining in, and please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Turn your notification bells on so it'll tell you when we're live. we're going live for match reaction after the Aston Villa game. So make sure you tune in for that, which is about 10 o'clock. So notification bells on, so we're going live after the Aston Villa game, and we're also going to have a match preview coming up shortly. Thank you everyone for joining, and have a great week.